wanted to, okay, sorry. We wanted to implement bingo and a couple of activities throughout the week so that you can feel more connected to 211 Virginia. So here we have the bingo game instructions. If you haven't received your bingo card, please let me know in the chat and also email me so that I can give you your bingo card as soon as possible before the weekend so that you can fill up all of your squares on the bingo card. So download your bingo card in your email and then mark off your squares throughout the week so you can tackle your activities. And later you'll get your prize, maybe, because we'll have a drawing at the end to see who wins out of all the people who have entered into the prize drawing. So at the end of the final 2-on-1 week session, we want to see all your completed bingo cards. If we have multiple winners, again, they will be entered into a drawing for a 2-on-1 Virginia prize pack provided by 2-on-1 Virginia as a token of our appreciation. We also have implemented the 2-on-1 Virginia Week attendance badge. Every day you'll receive a badge for every day. Celebrating participation, we really want to honor your partnership, being connected with 2-on-1 Virginia, and then we also want to recognize your impact. So here we have the attendance badges for every day. You'll get a State of Virginia badge, a site launch party badge, Decoding Directory badge, data detectives, and partner and problem solving badge. At the end of the week, if you completed all of your sessions for 2-on-1 Week Virginia, you'll get a attendance badge of excellence for a 5-day completion. So any other questions, feel free to email me, and I hope that you enjoy 2-on-1 Virginia Week.
So has anyone attended all 3 sessions and earned all their badges? I think we see some in the chat. All right, Shannon has.
That I love badges. That's so nice.
Yeah, Pamela has. So we'll make sure Jennifer gets a bingo card. So
Okay,
you have
perfect. So
all week.
yes, please email me. I'll put my email again in the chat. So if you have any assistance, need any assistance, I can help you.
Right. And thanks for hitting that record. We always forget, and that's very important because we want people to be able to watch this back and learn the decoding the directory as everyone is learning our new database platform. As mentioned before, we have went through a modernization, and this is kind of our final piece that we're uncovering this week as far as our vendors that we've introduced as part of our modernization. So we have that 211virginia.org site launched, a public search that's coming, and then this new database platform. So we're excited to decode this directory. On the call with our panelists today, you'll hopefully see familiar faces within our community engagement team. And then I also have both of my the directors, where they're the 3 of us. So Margaret and Robert are on the call. And so Rob is the director of data analytics and oversees the database and all the data. And so he is kind of a co-presenter in a sense, and then Mary also, our team lead, knows our database too, so at any time they may chime in and also kind of answer some of the questions that are in the chat, and we'll make sure we also do those live. That way, if anyone's watching this back, they'll also know some of the answers to those questions too. So we'll keep it fairly casual today, and let you answer, kind of ask those questions too, and we'll just keep rolling. But as mentioned, we're going to start with some refreshers and look at kind of who gets listed, and then go into kind of the deep dive of the decoding of the directory. So as a refresher, if you are new to 211 Virginia, just a reminder of what 211 Virginia is. We're an easy to remember 3-digit dialing code connecting people with information on available community services throughout the Commonwealth. We're free, we're confidential, and we are available 24/7, 365, snow, ice, holidays. We're here, we're always open. We are nationally accredited through Inform USA, which used to be, I think we're going on 2 years now, the Alliance for Information Referral Services. And 211 as a network is available across most of the United States and Canada. So when it comes to our database and our directory of listings and our agencies, this is where Inform USA does have a huge role because they are really our guidance when it comes to what we list, how we list, and really how we operate as a system. It is industry standards, best practice in this information referral space. And so being an accredited, I think we're the only accredited INR in Virginia, possibly, maybe. Margaret can fact check me on that.
Yes,
And we're
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
And we're going through it right now. So it's something that is a lot of hard work and that we're very proud to have within our system. So we are a contracted service of the Commonwealth of Virginia. All of us are employed by the Council of Community Services, a nonprofit organization that's headquartered in the Roanoke Valley, but serves across Virginia. We're the sole contractor under the Virginia Department of Social Services. So we do like to remind people that this is a state service, 211 Virginia. We were established in the Code of Virginia in 1984, and then we launched 211 in February 2006 in Virginia, hence why we have 211 Week and 211 Day, which was yesterday, celebrated all across the nation as a day to just kind of recognize 211. We are a directory of over 16,000 programs across the Commonwealth and beyond. And we're, again, a nationally accredited source for government, nonprofit, and faith-based agencies. And this infographic diagram kind of just shows how 211 works. And so essentially, agencies like yourself enter their program information with support from our database and community engagement team. Then the database team curates that program information so that it is searchable. And then our contact center, our community resource specialists, provide individuals with referrals based on their needs and eligibility. And then from that individual data, that informs community planning and service provisions throughout the state. So that kind of fulfills that Code of Virginia that we were mentioned that we're in. So for data collection, this is really important because Virginia is so unique, sort of, when it comes to how we have our cities, counties, and all the towns that make up Virginia. So we have 133 localities in Virginia, and all of them have access to 211 Virginia. Sometimes there's thoughts that, oh, this service is only available in Richmond, or this service isn't available to me over here in Southwest Virginia. And we are a true statewide service. When you call 211, no matter where you're at, you are getting someone in 211 Virginia based in your locality. Organizations listed in the resource directory are identified by one of the 6 regional codes, as you'll see here. We did change them up just slightly from last year or previous years if you've been around. However, in our new database platform, your regional codes aren't going to be as prominent to you when it comes to what you need. It will kind of be a back-end identifier for everyone. But we're going to continue with those. And it's a great way to know who your community engagement and data curator is as we broke up responsibilities within the region. So as mentioned, we have over 16,000 programs and across more than 5,000 organizations. This is important because when we migrated platforms, all of this data went over to our new platform. So if you are previously listed, you are currently listed too. So today's really more about how you can manage your listing, claim your agency, and then kind of continue your services throughout 211. If you're not listed, that will be another process, but rest assured, all of your contact information was migrated over when it comes to your listings. So just to highlight, in case you missed yesterday's session or Monday's session, we have recently moved database providers to VisionLink to enhance our data management and user experience. And so in the information referral kind of industry, there are a handful of kind of best service providers, and VisionLink is certainly one of those. Last year, when we were shopping around and doing our due diligence and researching and investigating those, VisionLink really did meet our needs the most. And so in April of 2024, we did contract them and start that long, well, not that long actually, but a short process of getting into this new platform. And so with that, we also launched a new website. And so if you go to 211virginia.org right now, you'll see our new website if you weren't able to join us at yesterday's session. You'll see now that we have a complete part just dedicated to agency resources. So when we're talking about getting access into our database, this is going to be the best way moving forward. And so with agency resources, and I'm going to actually share a different screen right now. You guys can see the website still? Okay, so on here now, when you are at our homepage on 211virginia.org, you'll see agency resources, and then you'll have a drop down, and you'll see agency, add update agency. And from there, you can scroll past why listing with 211 Virginia, and then you'll see the add and update your agency. And so that when we're talking about going in and accessing or requesting access, claiming your agency, this is where that lives. So just wanted to make sure everyone had access to that as we move forward. And after our session, if you didn't get to fully look at our website, we encourage you to do that as well. So if you're not listed, there are many benefits to listing with 211 Virginia. We do strive to have the most comprehensive and up-to-date database in the Commonwealth. Our database contains information on thousands of health and human service agencies across Virginia. The benefits of adding your organization to our resource directory include that it's free. Listing with us will never come at a cost. Whether you're listing multiple services, programs, your agencies, it will always be free to list and free to access. Increasing your reach. By being part of the directory, we can connect individuals in need directly to the services that you offer. A lot of times we like to say we're there to help navigate this health and human service maze. You probably do an excellent job. I mean, all of us in nonprofits have limited marketing dollars, but when it comes to maybe an individual not knowing about your service but needing it, we can certainly help increase that reach and connect them to the accurate referral. We field the first call. We take the initial contact, hopefully reducing the burden on service providers, cutting costs associated with managing your own information referral, allowing your staff to focus on serving clients. And then saving time. 211 Virginia acts as a central access point to Virginia's health and human service agencies, serving as time saving. We're a confidential resource for professionals like social workers, emergency personnel, and government officials. So anyone that's kind of in a helping service, maybe not necessarily in a nonprofit, but other types of fields also can access and provide that to clients to get connected to your services. And then we are a trusted resource. We provide free, confidential, 24/7 service that ensures individuals are referred only to programs they're eligible for, streamlining referral process. So as we go into decoding the directory, you'll see where we have your eligibility, your intake, your hours of operation. So really, it is our mission to give that best referral based off of those things.
We do have a couple of questions coming in from the chat that I think we're going to get to them a little bit in the decoding section, but I do just want to make sure that we get to those before they get buried. So we had a question of, is there a way to see your current listing before the public search goes live?
Yes, I'm looking at all of those, and I think we will get to every question that's in there in the
Okay.
slides coming through. If we don't, we'll come back to them too. But yes, everyone will have be able to claim their agency and then get a link that they'll be able to access it.
And just a reminder for our participants, if you can please use the Q&A for submitting questions so that we don't lose your questions in the chat, that would be super, super helpful for us. I'll continue to try to monitor the chat and put resources in there that are relevant, but I think we'll get to all of those questions in the next couple slides. So,
Yeah.
perfect.
So getting started. First, we have a database inclusion criteria. So as mentioned, we follow the accreditation standard guidelines set forth by Inform USA in determining what listings to include in its database. So we ask that if you are a new listing and you're unsure if you're a good fit for the 211 Virginia database, that you first read our inclusion policy. So our inclusion policy is located again on 211virginia.org. You locate that agency resource dropdown as I showed before. You'll go to add, update your agency, and then you'll scroll to the add, update agency now section. And then in that, you'll see, please read our inclusion policy. And so the inclusion policy will open up to a PDF. But we are going to go over our inclusion policy right now, too. So our inclusion criteria is fairly simple. An agency or service provider must provide a human service. So it must be something that we can refer others to. The agency service provider must serve the residents of Virginia. So you don't have to be in Virginia necessarily to be a part of our directory, but you do have to serve residents of Virginia. You must have existed for more than 6 months just to show that degree of permanence and that you're kind of have staffing or volunteers or intake processes that have the ability to accept referrals. You must be either government, faith-based, or nonprofit. For-profit organizations, unincorporated groups meeting critical human service needs can be included as well. So there are some kind of and when it comes to just being government, faith-based, or nonprofit, we do accept for-profit organizations on a limited basis. In adding agencies and service providers to the database, there's always going to be priority towards scarce, free, or low-cost resources. One of our database team and community engagement's role is really focused on agency recruitment. And so when we're making those, we are looking at data to inform us on the direction of how we want to prioritize. And so a lot of that's basic needs. As you may have heard, we're starting the opioid reduction registry, so a lot around mental health and substance use. So we're really, sometimes we make extra effort, but there's always going to be an open for anyone that's eligible to enter into our database as well. So some examples of inclusion are local agencies providing their own information referral services, including specialized information referral. We can refer, our INR can refer to another INR service that's a little more specialized. Essential services like food and shelter, so those basic needs that I was talking about. Government agencies, both local, state, and federal. Agencies located in bordering states if they serve residents of Virginia. We often find that with our Northern Virginia, with those that serve DC and Maryland and Virginia, and then with our Southwest, with West Virginia and North Carolina as our neighboring states. So we do often see that one organization will also serve Virginia, even though they might be located in another state. Advocacy organizations, self-help support groups, so we can track at state, regional, or national headquarters instead of local groups. I think a good example of this is like AA and NA groups that we can kind of link to where maybe a host of it is rather than having like all thousands of individual listings on there. State and national parks located within Virginia. For-profit agencies that provide a health and human service either free of charge or on a sliding scale basis. Private for-profit and mental health and substance use care group practices may be included. And then child care preschool programs that are Virginia quality, so affiliated with Smart Beginnings or the National Association for Education of Young Children, or NACY, accredited, and then those Head Start programs when it comes to child care. So then when it comes to who is not eligible to be in our database, is organizations that discriminate based on race, religion, or similar factors are not eligible for inclusion. Organizations engaged in fraudulent or illegal activities, agencies which misrepresent their services in any way, including non-delivery of services, individual practitioners. So you saw where we do allow for groups, but when it comes to individual practitioners like physicians and psychiatrists in private practice, that's simply not our role and something that we also cannot vet to make sure that's a good referral. And then organizations or professionals which are not licensed in areas where license standards exist. I think you all can appreciate that in mental health, substance use, anything that requires a license or an accreditation and they're just not operating. I think that would kind of fall under a little bit of illegal, but if they aren't operating to a standard that they're supposed to be, we wouldn't include them. And then political and issue-oriented groups, unless there's alternate viewpoints also represented, such as pro-choice or pro-life, pro-gun, anti-gun control groups. And so that is, I think, okay. And then we have a little bit more of who's not included, who cannot be included in our database is faith community-based programs that provide services only to their congregation. Sometimes that happens where a church or a group may solely just exist to help their own members. And that is okay, but we would not have them in our database because that would be really hard for us to screen and make sure we're providing just their members that referral. Organizations that provide only funding for programs but no direct services. And so there are a lot of organizations foundations that kind of exist just to fund other people's missions. And we need those. They are fantastic in our communities, but we can't refer individuals to those programs. National organizations with local chapters that directly administer services. I think a good example is like an American Heart Association and then your local chapter that is an American Heart Association local chapter. So we'll list those local chapters and describe their affiliations with the national organization. However, in some cases, the national organization may also have programs that will serve Virginians while their chapter maybe just serves local regions. So both of those in that case can be included in the database. And then organizations exist solely to serve the clients of another service provider, similar to that of the congregations. The example here is within DSS Protective Services. So if there is, say, a child advocacy group that only supports you if you're in a certain program, then we would say that that program would refer to that, not our agency. So we wouldn't have them listed in 211 Virginia. So again, our inclusion policy, which also includes the exclusion criteria, is in that PDF that you can get to if you need a refresher of that. So now we'll go into getting listed. Now that you know who we are and who can get listed, we'll go more into the directory side of things. And so getting listed, how to add your new agency to the 211 Virginia database. So first, you're going to go to 211virginia.org, locate that agency resources drop down, select add update agency, and then scroll to that section. So this is the third time you've heard this now, so hopefully you get that we're going to 211virginia.org and going down to do that. What's new from the last site is that we no longer have like a portal or a login. So this is the way that you're going to gain access to add and update your agency. Before adding your agency to the 211 Virginia database, please double check that that does not exist already. A lot of times if you've had any turnover, maybe even a name change or something like that, that you might already be in our directory, and then we can just make sure you have access to your listing. But a way to check right now is just to contact our community engagement team or any of our database members. Once we have our new custom form that we're building live, you'll be able to go in and search your name. But right now, we just ask that you connect with our team. So add your agency will pop up right now to a Microsoft form that you can go same way, finding it when you click on add your agency, this Microsoft form will pop up, and that is how you can right now temporarily add a new agency if you are newly looking to get listed. So this is a temporary process as VisionLink builds our custom forms. One thing, as you may have learned in our last 2 days, is that we have a few things that we were like, gosh, we really need that. So we have some things in the interim built for you all to have access now. And then in the future, we'll have some custom forms that will look like this. And so our new form that's under construction, same process to get to it when you go to our website and do add, update your agency. It will no longer go to a Microsoft form. It will go to a site that looks like this. And so from there, you'll have your agency overview where you can fill it out, your physical locations where you can fill it out, and then available services that you can fill out. We will go over each of those components in a little bit if you're like, what is that? And so this is what our new resource inclusion form will look like, and that Microsoft form is our kind of interim right now. And then when it comes to getting updated, same process, same go to 211virginia.org, agency resources drop down, go to the update, add your agency, and then this one will also pop up to a Microsoft form. And so the Microsoft form just asks some simple questions. This is for updating your agency. It's going to ask your agency that you're representing. If you know your agency number, if you don't, that's okay. And then your first and last name and an email address. And then there's going to be a check mark that you can check if you need immediate access to updating your agency. So getting updated and claiming your agency in the meantime are kind of the same thing as what we're asking already listed agencies to do. This is also a temporary process as VisionLink is building out these new forms. And then once we have the VisionLink custom built form, it will look similar to this one, where you'll be able to search by your agency or organization name, or your service name, or any kind of other things that go along in it. And then if you find your organization, you'll be able to actually request access, where you'll get an individualized tokenized link sent to your email. And then once you click on that, you'll have access into your listing. And I'll also demonstrate that in a little bit for you all. So this is Wyoming's. As if you've attended it all this week, you know that Wyoming has been a big inspiration for us. They also used the VisionLink platform and had VisionLink build those custom forms for them. But when you actually search your agency or service name, it will look like this. And so you'll have your agency, the services that you provide, and the sites where you provide those services. And then when you click on them, each independent listing will have this submit service revision request. And once you click on that, it will then trigger to the database team that you've requested a link, and then that link will be sent to the contact that we have within there. Again, during this process, if you have any trouble, we do encourage you to reach out to our community engagement team or our database team, and we'll be sure that you have their contact information. That's in a few slides too. So claiming your agency is our rollout plan right now when it comes to making sure that all of those 5,000 plus agencies have access into their listings. And so how you can claim your agency, and actually if you've registered for this session, we're going to go ahead and send you those links too. But if you want to go in and make sure that if maybe there's two of you from the organization that are attending today's session, that one is the initial person, it would be helpful if you can go in and claim your agency in the 211 Virginia directory. So same way, this sheet is the same that's connected to that update your agency. So it will go in here. And so once you've claimed your agency, now this is not an auto process. So once you've claimed your agency, we will send that list to Rob and his team to upload into the database. And then it will be connected to your agency listing and trigger this email to you. So this is a sample of what the email looks like. This is actually the Council of Community Services email that went to Rob. But that email is always going to come from no-reply at 211va.communityos.org. So it is a good idea if you have strict filters like we do within the Council of Community Services to check your clutter, your junk folder. If you have like a extra step to get to those unlisted emails, you might need to check in there. But we do kind of suggest go ahead and add this email address to your safe senders list if you can, because that's where we're going to be communicating from now and on when it comes to any communication directly from the database platform. So
and also, I want to add real quick that we did put in, I guess, about 165 agencies this morning from the anchor agency list. So some of you may already have this in your mailboxes. So if you've already been working with us as a partner, check to make sure those are. Once you've got that, you use that tokenized link. I believe it does expire in 24 hours, so you do need to use it fairly quickly. It's just like when you sign up for something at the bank, the link will expire. And then once you are in, then we can get that process rolling to make sure that you can get access to your listings.
Great. Yeah, we're still testing if it's the 24 hours or not because we've had ours for a while, but we'll see. So yes, if you can look at it sooner than later. I think that's always for the best when it comes to it. So it will go to your agency's designated contact email address. And then the subject for the first email is going to be your organization's information needs to be verified. And it will look like this email, and it will have your agency's custom dashboard link to your resource records. This is the council. We have it blocked out, so you don't copy ours though. I mean, I think it would be fine. The database team could handle any intruders, I suppose. But this is unique to your agency, and it is recommended that you kind of safeguard this. It is your choice if you choose to share this link with anyone else in your team, within your agency, but they can also be attached to other listings and help manage the system too once you initially verify your organization listing. And so this is a sample of what that email initially looks like. And so when you click on this link, it will take you to your dashboard. And this is just a snapshot of what the dashboard looks like. There are some different languages that they use versus what we used in the past. So you might call you the contact dashboard. We might say your listing dashboard, your resource dashboard. It's all the same thing. So when it comes to updating your contact on these resources, this is where it will go. And so up at the top, you'll have an option to show any solicited revisions. So that is what is due for updates. You can show all your resources here that will expand out to all your resources. You can show your periodic revisions, or you can group by agency. I think I've said this. Yeah, so tokenized links will always provide access to the dashboard, but you'll only be able to update resources that are due for updates. For all other updates, agencies will need to submit a request. So I'll demonstrate it later, but when you open up your ones that don't need updating, it will have a button at the top that you can just request to update it. And in the same process, it will go to the database team. They'll send you the link, and then you click it, and they'll change the revision date for you to access it.
Before we get too deep into, I think the next couple slides are like actually the fields and everything. Before we get too deep into that, I do just want to take a minute to address some questions that have come up. We have questions about when people will get their links after claiming agency, and someone saying that they have not received their link. Yes, so the only people who have received tokenized links so far are Anchor Agency Collaborative members. So this is a group that comes to quarterly meetings with us. If you're in that group, you will know you've gotten so many emails. When you are going to get, when your batch, we're kind of batching these, when your batch gets those emails from that no reply, our team is also going to do our best to send you an email ahead of time to warn you that that's coming, remind you to check your spam folders, that kind of thing. So yes, the only people that should have received links so far are Anchor Agency Collaborative members. Everyone else we're going to be rolling out in batches. That Anchor Agency group was that first batch. And then we also had a note of being concerned about accuracy before public search goes live. So any information that we didn't add or take away any information from the previous directory. If your information was ready to go and updated in the previous directory, it's all the same stuff in this new one, which is why we're doing that annual update basis rather than just have everyone jump in all at once. So that's kind of how we're doing it. Like your information will be the same. We did a really massive data migration. And then we also had a question about how will we know when the public search goes live? And for that, you can check the site. There will be buttons that pop up right on that homepage when the public search goes live. We'll likely also send a statewide newsletter out on our team, so you'll want to make sure that you're subscribed to that. Um, I think that's all the points I'm looking through. Oh, and then will we still get annual update reminders?
Yes. Yes to
Yes.
the annual update reminders. Yes. What
Um,
we're trying to do, and I'll let Rob speak to it, is so that we don't have every single one of you all be updated, needing for your annual update at the same time. So how we're batching it out is hopefully going to cause some of that to not be so stressful for the database team. But Rob, I'll let you answer that question too.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First off, I want to talk just very briefly about the data migration. This was quite the challenge. So we have done everything in our power to make sure that the information is as complete and accurate as possible. However, we had to pull this from multiple sources, and so you may find some stuff that is incorrect. I just want to manage that expectation up front. We have done our best to try to re-verify everything, but again, there are 16,000 listings, and we've gone through close to a third of them so far to review to make sure everything came over. Um, Part of that problem was, for example, we had one of the sources we had to use the National Data Platform. I don't know why, but they apparently left off Wednesday for the hours of operation for everybody. I don't know why. Perhaps they have never gotten the hang of a Wednesday, but or they don't like Wednesdays. But so we've had to try to fill in things as we can using all the resources that we have available. And in some cases, because the new structure of site and service being two separate things, we did have to pull some of those apart. I did all of that work, which was considerable, trying to go through and make sure that all of the addresses came through. You will notice on the sites that we did not include any mailing addresses. And there is always the possibility that we did not get the right one in there if you had a mailing address and a site address that are both regular street addresses. So the PO boxes were easy for us to remove from that group. And there were a couple of places where we got down to the last dozen or so agencies where we had to guess. We might have guessed right, we might have guessed wrong. In one case, we were only supposed to have two addresses, physical and a mailing, and we had three on one agency. I'm really not sure how that happened. But it was very challenging to get all of this information over. We've tried to get it as complete and accurate as we can. The other piece from the National Data Platform, because they are now using AI to try to clean up data and make it look very similar. You may have had very specific information in eligibility and application information that might now just say call for details. We were not able to extract all of that information directly out of our old data system. So there are just a couple of things we want to make sure people are aware of, that we're doing our level best to make sure that it's correct, but you are probably going to find mistakes here and there, or find incomplete information if you had very specific eligibility criteria and it now says call for information. So hopefully we've not had too many, really awful problems, but we have tried to make sure that we've got it as complete as we can without talking to each one of you individually.
All right. And we will go over some of those new changes that Rob was talking about too around agency, site, and service. But I think I talked about it a little bit on Monday. If you've ever been through a massive database migration, I know that you feel and can empathize with what a process has been when we talk about a legacy resource directory and moving over thousands of records and archiving millions. So it has been a journey certainly for our database team. So I think Rob's context does kind of help position and manage some of the expectations of where we're at. But we do want to reinforce that our database team and our community engagement team can navigate through any of these things as we kind of get ready for you all to gain access to your accounts too. All right, so this is the dashboard. And I think the next one is the dashboard as well. So once you get to clicking on all of your links and services and sites, then you'll see it expand into your dashboard that looks like this. What we love about the new VisionLink platform versus our old platform is, one, you'll see a lot of white space. And some reason that makes my brain feel a little more organized, and hopefully it does for you all too, that you just see a good amount of clear space. And then you'll also see where all of your sites and services are always going to be on the left hand. Once you open up one service, you'll see all of them over here. Before, it was a little like this, but it wasn't as intuitive and it wasn't as easy to kind of open tabs and close tabs and kind of adjust things as you needed to. So once we do the demo, you'll see it, but I think that you really will enjoy that. And then the sites and services. So once you click on something, and this isn't going to be too much to you all until we get to the demo, but what another feature that I really like is that anytime you click on something, the site or service that's not associated with what you're editing just grays out. So you can kind of see where your listings are connected. And that's really important because then you can kind of visualize how the contact center sees it. When they're making the referrals, they're making it from your services, and so you can kind of visualize how that maybe looks in the referral side of things too. So as Rob mentioned, there are 3 components now or field sets to your resource profile. So if you remember, previously you had an administrative entity and then you had programs. That is no longer. In the new system, we have agency, site profile, and then service. And so we'll go into each of these a little more in depth, but those are the 3 components or field sets that make up each resource profile. So an agency is an organization that's a central hub of several programs and services designed to assist the community. So that can be an organization, an umbrella organization, or an umbrella agency, a brand, a chapter, whatever that is, it's kind of that overarching entity. We consider your agency. So I'm going to use the Council of Community Services a lot for an example. And if you're in Roanoke or heard of us, that's great. And if you're not, I'll try to go through it a little bit. But the Council of Community Services is a nonprofit organization. We are kind of the umbrella agency for several different programs. So we have 211 Virginia. We have our housing programs. We have an HIV and hepatitis C drop-in center program. And then we have some other kind of community planning type programs. And so in this case, that agency is the Council of Community Services when it comes to that resource profile. Then we have a site profile, and a site profile details the location where services will be provided. This is probably the easiest thing to remember. It's like a physical location. So it's literally where that service is provided. So in some cases, you might have one agency and one location and everything happens out of there, and that's fine. You'll just have a site profile. Other times, like the Council of Community Services, you'll have one agency, many different programs, and then also many different sites that are offering different services or similar services from your satellite offices per se. And so we'll also want to capture those within your site profile. And then service. So the service details provide service types of assistance for the community. So that is literally what you do. That is what we're going to be referring to when it comes to our contact center. When it comes to the public search, that's what it's going to be pulling for people to get help. So in some cases, this might be a program. And then in other cases, it might be a service of a program. For example, our housing program, it's not just the housing program. Every different option is different. We have a rapid rehousing service within that program. We have HOPWA, so that's very specific for housing opportunities for persons with AIDS. And then we have our just general housing prevention program. And so all of those 3 services fall within our program of housing. And so you can see how sometimes you might just have one program that only has one service, or you could have a program that has 3, 5 plus services in it. So essentially, the listing structure could look like this. Every resource profile has to have one agency. That is pretty black and white when it comes to the listing, is that you'll have an agency. Your listing could have multiple sites, as just mentioned. So then your agency will have sites. Then that site could have multiple services offering from multiple sites. And so you'll see in this case, this site has these two services, and then this site also offers the same services as this site does. And so your listing structure can look very different depending on how your service offerings are to the community. And so, again, to reiterate, referrals are made from the service at the site based on the search taxonomy term from the agency. Rod, did I get that all right? Any additions that you want to add to it?
Yeah, that's pretty much what you're going to be seeing. So the only issue that comes up, so well, if I have one service that's available at multiple sites, can I use that? And the only condition there, if the service is used through sites with different regions. So like for us, we have 3 sites for our drop-in center, one in Marion, one in Roanoke, and one in Danville. They are in 3 completely different areas. So when we set up their services, they're going to have 12 different services that are covered at 3 different sites. They are the same service. I know that on our end, and I haven't, we can probably check this when Amanda's in there, but there is a function for us where we can copy the information to a new record. So if you have the same service that needs to be put in at a couple of different sites, if that's available on the public end, we'll check that to make sure you can get to it. But in the worst case scenario, if you get stuck, that's what community engagement database teams are here to help you.
All right, so now we're going to go through each component again. And so, again, if Rob has any more helpful tidbits, I welcome them. So the agency profile is the first step. If you're already listed, this step has already been completed for you, but if you're a new listing, this is the first step to creating your overall resource profile. And so the first step is to create your agency profile. The agency profile serves as the internal listing, and the information provided will not be accessible to the public. We know sometimes when we're asking for your executive director or some of that information, you're like, please do not send referrals to them. And we absolutely will not. This is an internal record. And so within that profile for agency profile, we are asking for agency details, operation details, your agency executive officer, and then their agency contact details. In our demo, we will show you and go in depth into each of one of those steps that's underneath them. So again, just as a refresher, an agency is your central hub of several programs and services designed to assist the community. So your overarching organization, umbrella agency, brand, or chapter for some examples. And then the site. So the next step is to create your site profile. The site profile details the specific location where services are provided. Even if the site location is the same as the agency's physical address, it must be entered separately. So while we no longer have administrative entities, or we're going to phase those out, we still do need your agency and your site profile, even if your site profile is just your agency's physical location too. We still need a site profile to attach to your service. In the site profile, the components of that listing is your site details, site hours, site contact details, and location details. And as a reminder, that details are the site details include the location where services will be provided, physical locations, and there can be multiple sites. And so if your office doesn't have a physical location and you're just doing intakes through the phone, through the web, etc., that is fine. You are not required to have a physical address attached. We'll just note that in your intake and within your service, in your site profile, and both in the service profile too. That's correct, right, Rob? How we
Yes, and you can mark a any of these to be confidential. So If you do not have walk-ins, you do not want people coming to the office, you can mark it as confidential and then it won't show up.
And then the final component is that service detail. So the final step is to create your service details. This section outlines a specific type of assistance provided to the community. Service details are important as they form the basis for how referrals are provided, ensuring individuals are connected to the appropriate referral. So this is quite literally our bread and butter, but it has to be attached to a site that's attached to your agency. And so the components of a service detail are the service details, hours of operation, service contact details, and then your intake and fee details. And then as a reminder, the service provides specific type of assistance to the community. So it's literally what you do. A service may function as a program within an agency or a specific offering within a program of an agency. It's recommended to split up programs into separate services if they offer multiple types of assistance to ensure clarity and accuracy of referrals. So as Rob mentioned, I think we already did split up some of the programs if they look like that. They're going to be attached to different taxonomy codes and curated in different ways. And it's really to help us get the best referral to the community and the most accurate referrals to you all as well. And so I think that this is probably the most important detail and change that we're asking is that there's no longer programs, we're asking for services. And so I think that's a little bit of a tongue twister. Like when I was writing it, I'm like, a program can be this, or it can be a service within your program. And so it's not a riddle. That's literally how we just want to break it out to get the most accurate referrals to you all.
Along with it, what we would recommend, you can have some schools of fish that swim together. So if you are providing emergency financial assistance for, say, utilities, putting electric, gas, and fuel together is probably not a problem. But if you also have a clothing closet and food pantry, you probably would want to have those as separate services. So, there's some flexibility in this. And, if our curators can't understand what you're asking for, they will let you know.
I love that. Some fish can swim together on that. And so this will make sense once you see the demo, but there are two kind of points that we want to bring up within the new system, and they both revolve around addresses and geographic service area. And so remember when I said that Virginia is 133 localities of a bunch of cities and counties and towns with the same names in them? It has absolutely been a pain point for us with this database system. So we just want to highlight this before we demonstrate it, and then you'll have all of these slides to go back to and refer to as you're kind of going and navigating this on your own. So there is a validate address button. So when you're entering in your agency data, you'll find address fields that will need your input. The address that you enter must be validated. So you'll see everything has a validate address with your addresses. So once you've entered the address, you're going to click this validate address button. Now, depending on the address that you have put in, a recommendation might be made. It will look like this image right here. So this is the Council of Community Services address. And then you're going to select the option that best reflects the agency's address. So that's your way of kind of validating it. This is going to add latitude and longitude, which will be hidden. And then it's going to have it references Google Maps and the USPS database. So it should be accurate. And so it will also open up to a pin on a map. And I think you can move it if it's not in the right way, but you can also just verify that that is right. You look at the map of where your community is and you say, yep, there's the Council of Community Services located between the YMCA and ACES. And you're like, that's right, that's the pin. And so you can do that with your too when it comes to validating. So if by chance Google Maps and USPS just is wrong, if there's any issue when you enter it and it says, and your did you mean pop-up isn't accurate to any of your listings, then just let us know so we can put that up to our Vision Link and make sure that there's no issues on the back end. It does not work with PO boxes. So this is only for those physical addresses. And then the real fun is within our geographic area served. When entering your geographic area served, accuracy is going to be absolutely critical. As mentioned, there's 133 localities, 95 counties, 38 independent cities, and all the towns. Many localities have similar names. We know we have a Buchanan and a Buchanan. We have a Fairfax and a Fairfax, a Roanoke and a Roanoke. And so that is where it's going to be attention to detail is going to be really important. And if you all can help us, that's great. Otherwise, when our database team is looking at it and curating the information, they'll double check and maybe get back to you and say, hey, did you actually mean this? And so the system is highly sensitive to these distinctions, and incorrect entries can cause data errors to our search results. And so you'll see right here is an example of Roanoke, Virginia in the county and Roanoke, Virginia in the city. Now, naturally, I think you're probably going to want to type Roanoke City, Fairfax County, Fairfax City, Buchanan County, Buchanan. But we are asking you to just do Roanoke, Virginia, and then beside it, once you do your Fairfax or Buchanan, whatever that looks like, it will populate city or county. And so if you serve both Roanoke, Virginia County, you'll select that. If you serve both Roanoke, Virginia City, you'll select that. You can narrow all the way down to the zip code. We know that some of our community partners serve a quadrant of a city or a specific, very specific part of their communities. And so you can go down to the zip code. If you are a nationwide service, you can go as high as the United States, listing that you're nationwide. If you are a statewide service in your offerings, you can just enter the state name. So if you serve Virginia, just serve Virginia. You can enter by the zip code and then again by the town, the city, and the county.
Just a couple of notes on this because we've spent a huge amount of time using this tool. It will also give you towns. They say cities, but towns. So you have to be careful. Amanda mentioned, Buchanan County and Buchanan Township. And probably the most interesting mistake I've seen in data entry was somebody who wanted Newport News and they put in Newport, which was Newport Town and Giles County on the other end of the state. So you do have to be a little careful with it. It will suggest to you some things. So it's just a matter of making sure that it does look like what you see here on the screen. And you can also do this, as far as we know at this point. We haven't had a lot of a chance to test this, but I know that we have like one agency in Richmond that, area that serves like Chesterfield County plus one zip code somewhere else. Theoretically, you should be able to put in that one additional zip code without adding the additional county, getting results and referrals that are for people there. And that also helps, Margaret's folks in the contact center, because then they don't have to make sure, all right, is this person on this side of the line? Is this person on that side of the line? One thing, though, to just remember with the zip codes is they're not always perfect. Some of the municipal boundaries have moved since zip codes were established. So there are a few places in the state where we are getting wrong search results based on zip code because part of the border between the city and the town or the county and the city have moved around a bit. So it's definitely more than what we had in the old system where we could only do cities and counties. So we're going to find out what the pitfalls is, I am sure, as we go forward with this.
And this is a VisionLink widget, I suppose. And so we are able to provide feedback on them. But this one particularly, it's going to search the entire United States. So that is helpful if maybe you serve other parts of outside of Virginia, though we're just going to refer Virginians. But it will, as Rob mentioned, kind of pull up other zip codes, other states, if they have a city and county exactly like us. So just making sure that it's within Virginia if you're adding that one as well.
Yeah, so there are a few cities that match ours in Vermont.
Yeah.
So just be aware. I mean, what we have found is the easiest thing to do is to type in the name of the city or county. followed by VA. It does not have to be capitalized. It is also very forgiving. So if you're somebody like me who has terrible keyboarding skills, it will still try to look it up. Sometimes it can tell when my fingers have gone dancing across the keyboard and gives me the answer I'm looking for. Um, so there's a lot to this. This is brand new. Our only real challenge we've run into if it has Roanoke City before the Virginia, those do not search anything. It says city and county in that syntax.
And I saw in the chat around the geographic area editable by zip code within services, because we feel your pain on this too throughout Virginia, within like, and the zip code can be the same, but it's in a different locality and it might not be what you serve. And so I would say, and Rob, you can chime in too, that I would put that note in your services details when it comes to your geographic location. If you only serve, I'm thinking like in our area, 24017 is both a Roanoke City and Roanoke County address. And if you only can serve Roanoke City, then I would detail that. I would add 24107, and then in the details of your listing, say Roanoke City only or something.
Yeah, and I think from what I've seen going through, lots and lots of services with our team, most people put that information in the eligibility. Some folks were very thorough that it's in the eligibility, it's in the hours of operation, it's in the service description. We don't really probably need to go that deep. But I know this has been challenging because we've been dealing with it for all the time that I've been in 211 Virginia.
And then I saw Denise, several counties, absolutely. This is just a snapshot of one of our services at the Council of Community Services. And you can put as many counties and cities and attachments as you want to your geographic area served.
And you're actually looking on the screen at one of our largest ones. This is from our drop-in center program. This is actually going to get revised and shrunk down a little bit, but they pretty much cover from Covington to Danville and from Appomattox to Lee County. So it is a very large, and I typed all of that in. That was a large amount of stuff to go through.
And then I think we're going to show you a demo. I think we have you here till 12:30. So in that time, we're going to look at some of what we've been talking about. Again, you will have these slides that you can go back to refer to. We understand if you're a learner like me, you've got to get in this system. It's great to see it and learn it and hear it once, but you need to go and look at your listings and then go back and refer to something. That is very much a type of learner. I've been through this whole process too. So if you kind of feel like, I get it and I don't get it, I think that's where we're all at some point. And so we'll have the slides, this recording, and then once you're into your listing too, and then of course you'll still have our team. So I am going to switch over to the Council of Community Services listing, and let me see if this is clickable now. Yay! Okay, so we are going to show you what a full listing looks like. Again, with the new agencies, you'll have a field, a whole form to fill out. That right now is that Microsoft form. Soon it will be that custom form that VisionLink is building. So you won't see this necessarily when you're doing your new listing. But if you are updating your listing and you're already a listed agency, once you get that tokenized link, this is the dashboard that you'll have access to. And so I'm going to walk through in detail. I have a cheat sheet on the other side that is included in the handouts once we hand those out that I'll be referring to as well. But this is your agency listing and what it will look like when you have a profile within our system. And so you'll see what I mentioned, that all of your sites and services are going to be to the left side in this gray area. You can see right now I'm in the agency, so all of these are up. None of them are grayed out because they're all associated with our agency, both in site and service. When I was talking about some flexibility here, if you want to look down, you can actually just shrink things, make them bigger, so it gives you a little more space. So you do have your agency details. That's where we're going to want your agency name. If you have any AKAs, so what you're also known as, maybe what you previously were known as, you can put that here as in your AKA. For your agency description, it's just going to be that. We're asking for a brief narrative about your agency. It does not have to be a full-on list because of what you do, because in your service details, you'll be able to break down each service that you provide in that narrative. We do ask, we are a nonprofit too, so we ask you to avoid some of our jargon and technical information that we sometimes use and just talk in plain language and be kind of short and brief with your agency description.
Also,
Then
another nice
over,
feature,
oh,
Amanda,
no,
pull down on that window because a lot of these
oh,
windows expand.
this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there. So you can make it bigger if you've got, more information than you can see. So those text areas are expandable, and when you're done, it'll shrink back up to a two-line default.
Yep. So a lot of little, I don't know. I think that they're helpful when you're trying to make all your edits. Then for operation details, this is your administrative hours and days of operation. So this is your agency's hours, not your services availability, not your site location hours. These are just your agency hours. Sometimes your agency may have different hours or different operations than your service and site. Again, this is internal information, and we send referrals to your services, not your agency, but we still want to capture this. And so you will have the opportunity to add and open your hours and select your days, select your hours, your minutes, and if it's AM or PM, both in your open hours and your closed hours. If you maybe have outside hours, like you start at 2:11 p.m., I suppose, you can take this away and make them custom. But otherwise, you have your drop downs. And then if you have any special notes that you want to make for your hours of operation, you can do so in this field, such as we're closed every day from 12 to 1 p.m. for lunch, something like that. Or Wednesdays we're by appointment only, or something like that. Those details are probably more pertinent for your service and site details, but you can add those in your agency profile. Then you'll scroll down to your agency address. And so you'll say, is this physical address confidential? Yes or no. And then you'll fill in your address. So you'll see here they'll have some drop down suggestions, but if you put anything else differently, Rob, if I put a whole new address in, it will have a validate, or if I do it again, it might pop out. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have to revalidate it if you
yeah.
change it.
Okay. So then I put in the same one, but you saw where if I change it all, it will have this validate. Well, that didn't do it, but it will have your validate address down here where you just click that red button. So again, you have your option to say if it's confidential or not, your address, if you have a suite, a unit, a building number, city, zip code lookup, and then it will have your city or your county, your state, and then your zip code. And then if you need to make any notes, it will always have a note field. When it comes to your toggle map, you can see when I said it kind of cross-references your longitude and latitude and then brings it on a map. You can see just what I was talking about. Here's the YMCA. I guess AC's isn't a locality that's it is very famous in our community, but not on this map. So you can see here's the YMCA, here's us, and then this is probably Campbell right here. So yes, that pin looks good for us. Is this mailing address confidential? No, we do have a P.O. box, so we're putting in our P.O. box. P.O. boxes have the option to validate, but they won't validate in there. And then on the other side is the agency details. So do they have this part of it?
It's not supposed to be public. We are only using the legal
Yes.
status and the licenses or accreditations at this point. We don't know that we're going to be using the other ones. We have not been in the past. If you put it in there, our folks on the database team won't see it anyway, but we would have no way to uh, say, oh, well, you said you were incorporated in 1975, and I think you were incorporated in 1972. Like, we would.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know that it's all that important, but the one we do want is the legal status.
Yeah.
It lets us know if you're nonprofit, if you're government, faith-based, and you see there are a whole lot of choices because this is a system that's used by multiple states across the country.
Yeah, so we do want your legal status, and we don't have required fields on anything, though we suggest you fill out all of the forms that we're going over today. That way, you're not kind of stuck if you don't have something to respond to. It makes the form a little more flexible to you. So we do want to know that legal status. Most of the time, it's going to be a nonprofit incorporated or a government service. Within, if you have any licenses or accreditation, so again, if you are required to have a certain licensure or accreditations, you can make note of that within your agency or within your services. For agency contact detail, we're asking for your main phone number, your fax, your telecommunications device for the deaf, if you have one of those, website URL, and then an email address. So this email address can be if you have a general inbox, it can be that. It can be kind of anyone who kind of maintains that agency email address. So then once you're finished, you will submit your revisions. It will go to the database team and they'll be able to review your listing and go from there. If you are just playing around like me, trying to get familiar with things, you can just click revert changes and it won't change anything that you just did. It will go back to what the listing was before. So that is the agency listing. Once you do your agency profile, you'll have your site profile. And so these are examples of your site profiles. And again, if you have already been listed, you'll have these already. When you go in to update your listing, you'll just want to verify that things look correct to you. So we have our Campbell Center in Roanoke. So we do suggest that if you have a site name, even if it's the same as your agency, just to give it a little twist. So in this case, Council of Community Services Campbell Center in Roanoke is the same site as our agency, but we want to differentiate it in our site details. So we gave it a distinct name to differentiate the site from the agency and other sites. Again, if you have a program that has an AKA and also known as what people are maybe used to knowing it, are knowing this site as, for example, within our housing program, a lot of people know that as the Community Housing Resource Center. We might put that as their AKA. Site hours are very similar to that of the agency listing and how it works and functions, but you can, again, go in, add, and customize those listings. And then if you have any specific hours of operation detail within this physical site or the site where the service is offered, you can note here. Within your site contact details, we're asking for the main phone number again, the fax, and the website and the email address that's associated with that site profile. For location details, same thing. We're asking if your physical address and mailing addresses are confidential, where you can say yes or no. You can put in your address, you'll validate your address, and again, you'll be able to toggle and map your address.
And on this one, it's very important to get that physical address because you're going to see in a moment how that links to the service.
Yes. And it's pretty simple, I would say. I mean, this isn't a whole lot of fields when it comes to your site profile either, and most of them are kind of complementary to the other one. So hopefully it's fairly intuitive when it comes into filling it out. And again, if you didn't mean to make any of those changes, you can revert the changes, or if you want to submit them for revision, you can submit them for revision. And so when it comes to looking at our services, which one should I look at? I can look at Hopwa. Okay, so this is an example of one of our services, and you'll see here that that service is associated with anything that is not grayed out, right? In that case, this might be a little wonky here. But within our service details, we're asking for the service name. So this is where your service name comes in. Any aliases within your service. Within the service description, just describing the service that you offer. So again, it's got that drop down that you can just tell us what you do. This is going to be really helpful when it comes to making that accurate referral. And then within the associated sites. So if this service is offered through multiple sites, this drop-in will actually populate, excuse me, into where sites that you already have loaded in. So you can attach multiple sites to a service. And then you'll see that geographic area served that we went over, where you can select by zip code, by county, and you'll see what we were talking about, where it has multiple, it has all of them throughout the entire nation. So you really do want to get down to Virginia if you can. And so we already have those added.
Yeah, don't use any punctuation with that because it's giving you the wrong one.
Let's see, if we did Newport News, you'll see Newport News, Virginia City for Virginia. So you would click this one. And then if you're in the county, you would click this one, right?
Yeah, it does weird things. I don't think there's a Newport News County. It also gives a Salem County, which is very close to where we are. So there are some weird things in this tool.
So I'm going to add, and then you can see too when you do different zip codes, if you wanted to add a zip code, you'll see all your zip codes pre-fill. So I'm just going to add some here. If you wanted to farther narrow down to different zip code or different zip codes within it, you can do so here. And then again, if you have any specific notes, I would notate those in your eligibility screen. And then if you need to delete them because we don't serve just 24017 or just Newport News, you can go in and remove those here too. So it's a neat tool as it populates. It's just one that you have to be kind of careful when it comes to selecting them. Hours of operation operates the same when it comes to adding those hours of operation, making notes on your operations. Within your service contact details, again, the phone number, the fax, your TDD phone number, your website URL, and then an email address. And so the email address can be a general one or it can be attached to a specific person. So if there's a specific person that does the intake, so in our case, this is Amy Shirky. She's a housing coordinator for us, or housing manager for us. And so her email is in here directly too.
Yeah, and let me stop you for just a second. So it looks like we've got the original form up. We just updated all of this stuff like a week ago. So I got to go in. There are a few extra fields that are in there. One of the ones I want to point out is you will occasionally see a notes field along with the telephone number. This current format, unlike the one we had on the last platform, does not allow you to put in extensions. We also added a second website field. And just for fun, because there aren't that many of us, but those of us who have the 3-digit dialing numbers, the 211s and the 311s, the 511s, we actually have a 3-digit code. And something that's new, and I only found one in the old database, which is text for service. So we know that texting is becoming more and more common. We wanted to add that in. So you will see a few extra things that are not showing up because we just fixed this. And I know it was working as of last week. So I'll need to go in and find out what happened here because we're now using the original one. And actually, Amanda, go up because you're going to go here next anyway. The languages other than English, click on that. That's one of the new fields and it's there, but the old field, which was the languages, additional languages, we put in the most common languages that we were seeing in our contact center. One that is new that I want to say a little bit about is we also now add American Sign Language. That was not in our other. That is actually our second most requested form of communication and communicating with the deaf. So we have added that as a language that is brand new. The other ones that we occasionally get are Vietnamese, Russian, German, um, Tagalong. So there are a handful. We may add those to this list eventually, but there aren't that many programs that are providing it. So there is an additional text box that goes with this. So if you need to add a language that we have not included because it's not one of the large ones that we have seen across the state, there is a place to do that.
So yes, as Rob mentioned, the languages, there's 13 or so preset languages, and then you'll have the option to list your other ones. And then any documentation required, you'll want to put that here. If there is a fee structure, such as sliding scale fees, certain insurances, Medicaid, Medicare, that you accept, you can put that in the fee structure or in the payment method of payment accepted. Within service capacity type, unit of service, and cost per service or cost per unit, those are all optional fields. Excuse me. And then, so you don't have to fill those out. An example of service capacity or type could be like a 30-bed facility or something like that. We do encourage you that if you have any eligibility, such as this is a women-only shelter or only accepts maybe youth under 21, to make sure you're notating those in your eligibility and intake and fee details.
Yeah, and the eligibility field is also missing. So we were doing so well until this point. Oh, technology, you can't live with it. Well, you can't live with it. Or as I like to sometimes quote Isaac Asimov, computers are always logical. They're rarely ever reasonable. So we'll get those in there. Just a quick note about this, because we had such a tight timetable to get this stuff over. A lot of things that we had in the old system that were check boxes or menus were just pulled over as text. We will be working on enhancing this as we go forward. So, a year from now, you may, if you do an update, you may see that, oh, there are several choices for eligibility that you can choose and add without having to type anything in. So right now, we tried to pull everything over in text. Same thing for the hours of operation. That all came over in text. So we've been adding them to the hours of operation widget as we go. But some of those you may see, like I said, they didn't give us Wednesday. I don't know why. It's like with all the weird things that's happened in this transition, that's not the weirdest.
So that is just kind of a behind the scenes look at the database. So once you get access to it, we're here to provide some technical support. I know that we're running a little short on our time, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over back to our slide set and just go over some important reminders so everyone can see my screen with helpful reminders.
Yes.
Okay, so all new or updated listings are reviewed and approved by the 211 Virginia database curators. It can take up to 2 to 4 weeks to complete the review, depending on the number of listings currently up for review across Virginia. We do have kind of a rollout plan, so hopefully we're not inundated all at once. But if you have urgent needs or are getting inaccurate referrals, we do encourage you to reach out to our team, and we can kind of expedite your requests. Go in, make sure you have early access, or go in and make those changes ourselves. Initial approval for new agencies, just because they're curating and attaching taxonomy and reviewing all the listings, maybe getting with you to kind of encourage you to split up some of your listings for better referrals, might take a little bit more time. Changes will not appear on the public search until approved. And so once the changes are live in our database system, they will be live in the public search. The public search is coming within the month. The public search is a separate platform from the VisionLink platform. If you missed session yesterday and Monday, you can go back and watch those. But with Connect 211, they are actually have an API that is filtering from our database to the public search. So they talk to each other. And so you should see once everything is live and approved, it will continue to pull your new information on the public search. And then database curators and our community engagement team may contact agencies for clarification if there's unclear or conflicting information. And again, we want this relationship to be both ways, so we encourage you to contact us as well. We expect within the next 6 months, we're all going to get comfortable within the system. And so never feel like, you need to you're bothering us or anything like that, because we can learn all of this together and improve your listings together. If you are feeling overwhelmed, again, that one-on-one support, if you need a paper form or you prefer doing the Microsoft form once the new Vision Link forms go live, we can make that a possibility for you all as well. And then technical support, you'll have these listings, but if you want to do a screen grab right now, if you're really eager to get in connection with us, you can. You'll see our community engagement team to this side of things, where you'll see that we're divided up by regions based on how we provide your technical support. And then you will see our entire database team as well. And so you've heard from Rob today, Jan, and then we have 2 database curators who also split up the regions for how they're kind of managing it. And then we have 2 database specialists as well that can help you. So we do have a fairly big team that is available to assist and kind of provide any technical support that you need. And if you're a visual person, this is what our regions, when it comes to your technical support, goes. So you'll see Shilia and Kanita and the regions that they serve with their contact information. There are database curators. And then hopefully by now you know our team, but if you don't, our community engagement team, we split up with 6 regions as well. And so you can contact your person based on where you're located. And if you're located across several localities, it's usually wherever your physical agency is located, but we all help each other out. So you're really, anyone you contact can help you out with your listings. And I think we've answered most of the questions as we have went today.
We do have 2 that I think are going to be pretty quick. I can address those quickly. We have a question about if there will be PDFs to flyers with lists of information for particular service areas. I believe what that question is referring to are the quick guides that we used to produce. So we just continued producing printed quick guides around COVID. We found that they were unfortunately causing a little bit more harm than good with how quickly they were going out of date with new information. But we do have, this is a great question, because we are kind of reintroducing this via the new public search and via Vision Link. So I don't know if Amanda, you want to touch on that feature a little bit.
Yes. So one thing within the new public search, once it goes live, you will have the ability to favorite listings to go back to. And then you'll also have the ability, we're double checking on this. If not, we're definitely going to add it to our customization for you all, is to select different ones based off of the search and based off the need or based off population or based off eligibility, whatever that looks like, where you can select them and actually create your own quick guide handout. And so those are branded directories that are going to be kind of accurate and real-time information, and kind of continue to go back to that site to make sure when you're printing them out. We printed out some in bulk, and we've heard stories of having things from 2013 out there, and we never want that to happen. So the best way is to always use those ways to connect, but we understand for accessibility purposes, sometimes people just want paper access as well.
Awesome. And then the last question is about translation and accessibility in multiple languages. So it's a question about the new site specifically, but I have to answer it in 3 parts, kind of. So our new site, the website itself, is available just in English for right now. Our public search feature is going to be available in both English and Spanish, with the possibility to add multiple languages in the future if we do see a demand for it. And then all of our services themselves are going to continue to be available in over 300 languages via our TransPerfect slide. And then as for providers being marked as multilingual, yes, when you are in those service details, you'll be able to enter under accessibility what different languages you serve, and we'll just have you enter any languages other than English that you can serve. So that'll all be available, and you can see which languages specific providers serve in those public search results once that public search feature goes live. I think I hit all three.
Yes, yes. And I see Karen's note around TDD to VP video phone. FCC requires that. So we will make that change, and we are looking forward to meeting with you, Karen, because we absolutely want our system to be accessible beyond just languages, but also to our deaf and hearing impaired communities as well. And Kathy Spangler, who is within the Virginia Department of Social Services, has been on our call, has also heard some of the feedback too. So she knows that accessibility and language access is very important to our service providers. So she also has already scheduled a follow-up conversation. So this type of feedback as we're building out our modernization is critical, because as we continue to advocate for more investment into our system, these are the type of things that we can advocate for. And we actually have constituents and stakeholders that are behind us with that need as well. So we do appreciate your feedback and also just your patience and your understanding as we launch all of this new exciting things. And this is kind of our first rollout, and we hope to only continue to scale and grow and foster those relationships. And so if we have our connect with us slides. If you've been around, you've seen it a few times. If Lori is okay, we might just kind of go through those pretty quickly. And then if you have to go, we know it's lunchtime. If you have to go, you can go as well. These slides will be available along with the recording, but Lori will go ahead. So then if anyone watches this back, they'll have it as well. So thank you. So
I'll
Lori.
be pretty quick about it.
Yeah.
All right. Again, for those that have been here this whole week, I'm Lori Mann. I'm the uh, Community Engagement Specialist in the Southwest region. I'm going to touch on these real quick about different ways to remain connected with us even after this webinar series is over. First of all, we want you to share this information with your staff. Any general knowledge that you have about the program, share it with your staff and your volunteers to keep them up to date. We want you to connect with us as your community engagement specialists. I think everybody throughout the week has had a chance to identify who we are and where we work. But if not, the next slide will point us out even more. We want you to sign up for our newsletter and follow us on all of our social medias with the handle @211 Virginia. And of course, we want you to explore our new website and use that and keep visiting back as it expands and changes over the next little bit. Again, I'll go across the state just so you can put a face with the names. I'm Lori. I'm down here on Southwest. Moving eastward, we're going to go with Amanda, who is the West Central. We've got Mary in the Northwest. We have Nelson in East Central, Darian in Northern Virginia, and Brittany in the Southeast. Here's some quick QR codes. You can go directly to our social medias and follow us from there. Here's just a recap of the week and what we have coming up tomorrow and Friday. So we've got data detectives tomorrow and partners in problem solving on Friday. And just to support our partners, we have some information about the 2025 Virginia Volunteerism Summit produced by Serve Virginia that's taking place May 14th and 15th. And there's registration information there at the bottom. All right, and I'll turn it back over to Amanda.
All right. So thank you, everyone. We hope you join us tomorrow for our session, and then as we wrap up 211 week on Friday and finish celebrating our 19 years of connection and uncovering our new exciting look. And again, we thank you, and we look forward to continuing our partnership together. So have a great Wednesday, everyone. Stay warm and safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank you
one.
for being with us.